So today we are working on my Cummins swapped F350. We're going to be revamping the interior on this thing, and I'm very excited for this upgrade. So if you're unfamiliar with this particular truck or build, I built this truck about a year ago now, put a bunch of miles on it, and the kind of theory behind this, you might be thinking, why would you put a Cummins in a Ford? What's the point? Well, I was trying to find kind of the ideal diesel truck, and to me all of the brands have their pitfalls. There's always something, right? There's always a catch with the used diesel trucks. So for example, the Ford is a very nice truck. They got all the bells and whistles, they're really comfortable, the chassis are really nice, they seem to hold up well, they've got really stout transmissions that work really well, but the engines in this generation were terrible. This is the 08 to 10 6.4 variant, and I mean they are pretty much unquestionably unreliable. So for example, this truck I bought with 240,000 miles on it. It was on its second engine and I bought it blown up. So it went through two engines and 240,000 miles. Clearly not very reliable. That is the big pitfall of these trucks. Now, the engine is a Cummins, a common rail Cummins out of an 05 Dodge, and the engine is fantastic. However, the truck's not that great. I'm not a big fan of the trucks themselves. I had one that kind of fell apart, which, you know, that's just my opinion. I just don't really like the actual trucks that much. And then the transmissions are notoriously weak. I mean, you pretty much are guaranteed, especially if you're towing, to have to build the transmission. So what we did here was take the good engine, put it in the good chassis with the good transmission, and we kind of get the best of both worlds. Now, you know, everyone has their favorite diesel engine, but for me, the one thing that you can't be contested about the Cummins, and why I went through all of the trouble to put this thing in here in the first place and build this whole truck, is because this engine is super easy to work on, and that was the key. When you get into these modern trucks, you get all that comfort, but it comes with a price. They're super complicated. It's super difficult to work on. If you look under the hood of a modern V8 turbo diesel truck, I mean, it is immense, the amount of stuff going on in here. Whereas this engine is about as simple as it gets. The wiring harness really only needs one relay to run. Everything's easy to get to. The injectors, you can pull the manifold, turbo off. It's a very simple engine just based on its layout and design. So that was my biggest reasoning for putting a Cummins in here, was the simplicity. Getting the modern, fancy, comfy, but with the simplicity of the Cummins engine. So we obviously built the truck. We did chassis stuff, cab mounts, all the steering stuff, upgraded steering box. We did full Mishimoto cooling system to make sure she ran cool. Did a new AC system and all the other odds and ends like that. We worked on the aesthetics. We did new bumpers, new headlights. We did the semi wheels and stuff like that. But the one area we didn't touch was the interior. I left the interior alone. I wasn't sure what route I wanted to go. And finally, this is what we're going to be upgrading. The point of this truck was to be a comfortable truck to tow long distance in and make those trips a lot easier when I'm towing 12, 14, 18 hours to go to an event, driving all weekend, and then towing back, you know? And it's not very comfortable when your seat is completely blown out. These were obviously recovered at some point. It was cold one day, and I put my knee here and blew out the leather. Apparently somebody's ex must have got mad and stabbed the headrest here, so this has been on the agenda for a while. The interior on this thing is pretty trashed, and we're finally going to be upgrading it. And what we have is an interior set from a 2013 King Ranch F350. So we've got the seats, we got the center console, we got the rear seats. So not only are we getting newer, nicer seats, but we're getting the flow-through center console. So this will go all the way up to the dash instead of ending right here. So we'll have way more storage because now we've got all this here, we got these side pockets. So that's a big reason for doing this. And then the seats themselves, again, are much nicer, much newer, and they're also heated and cooled. So we're gonna have heating and cooling. It's called AC, but it's just basically fans that blow through the perforated leather. So the interior's in pretty good shape. Passenger seat, rear seat, mint. Driver's seat is obviously aesthetically not great, but all the padding seems to be in good shape. None of it's blown out or sunken. We might get this recovered at some point. The center console, you know, has elbow wear, but I can get a brand new one of these. Boom. Toss it on and be done with it. So this is what we have to go in the truck. Now, to make the heating and cooling work is a bit complicated because it flows through kind of all the factory electronics on the newer truck, which gets really complicated. However, I found a guy who will take the harnesses, modify them, and send them back to you to where they're just a very simple hookup. So I got the harnesses stripped out of these seats, got him sent off. He did his stuff, took a few weeks, and we got him back now. So we need to put the harnesses back in the seats, get those back together, and then we can toss everything in the truck once we strip that apart. All right, before we get too deep into today's video, I wanted to talk to you about a product from today's video sponsor, Cove Audio. So we have had a bunch of different stuff from Cove. I've used their stuff for years without issue. I love their products, and this is their Casita boombox. This thing is an absolute unit. This thing is a ripper. I was pretty mind blown by how loud it went. I can't leave it up. I cannot leave the volume all the way up. I literally, every single one of my neighbors could hear every word of every song. It's wild. Let me show you how loud it is. I don't know how well it'll transfer through on camera, the loudness and the bass that comes from the two subs, but dude, this thing literally bumps harder than the subs in my truck. I'm not even joking.
38th Street Station.
Sounds so good too. I gotta pause it. We can't listen to music, YouTube copyright laws. So this thing's really cool. I love the Bluetooth connectivity of it because I just turn it on, it connects to my phone. I don't have to tinker with it. I don't have to go mess around with my settings. It quick connects every time. I play my music, I do my thing. It usually lasts me all day, so by the time I'm tired out, it's still kicking. I don't have to worry about charging it in between, and then now I can't listen to my music. So really nice to have. I really like this thing. If you're interested in trying one out for yourself, you can use my discount code. It's good till the end of this month to get 67% off or more. So I'll put my link down in the description and the code up here on the screen and all that jazz. So you want to act fast. It's for sure good to the end of this month. So if you want one, definitely need to get on it. So anyway, huge thank you to Cove for sponsoring this video. It's time to get back to work. All right, so here is what the converted harness looks like. I wish I had a picture of it before because it was a lot more elaborate. This is the driver's side, but here's the passenger side control box. Oh, whoops. That we don't need anymore because of the way he does it. So instead, we now have a plug that goes to this guy here. So we will power this into power and ground, which we already have at our seats. And then this is the switch for each seat. So this will be hot and this will be cold. I went ahead and got this harness installed. So we've got the relays mounted up here, got everything plugged in, and then this is our plug that's gonna go off to our switch. This seat's ready to go. Let's knock out the other seat, and then we can move on to stripping the interior out. Alright, last thing to tackle here is our center console. So I wanted to make sure that the power inverter would work. So I took the power inverter out and sent it to him as well. Alright, center console is back together. Now we'll have a power inverter. That's going to be super handy if I got to charge my laptop on the road or something like that. Super excited about that. So, and a cigarette lighter and a little cubby and cup holders up here. Improvements. All right, now our seats, our center console, everything is ready to go in the truck. We just got to get the old junk out of here. Be a nice opportunity to vacuum this thing out too. Ooh, this thing is dirty under here. Making sure everything still works with this unplugged. Oh, airbag. Oh, it went away. Oh, no, it didn't. We might have to plug this module back in under the stock seat. Oh my God. Whoa. What the hell? How did all that end up under there? I don't get it. All right, so I've never pulled the seats out of this truck. I cleaned it when I got it. What? I don't understand. How did all of this end up under the center console? And as you can see under the seats, it is quite gross. Anything interesting? I just don't get it. Like, did it just shred over time? Man, people are gross, dude. Is that a French fry? I'm pretty sure that's a French fry. We're vacuuming this out. I can't believe I've driven this truck for a year with all this nastiness just right there under the center console. She'll be squeaky clean after this. I just don't understand how all of this ended up under here. I mean, when I got the truck, the bed was full of trash, so maybe... For our new center console, we have to change this piece. It's funny because I just kind of dove right into this, hoping for the best. I didn't know for sure if any of this stuff was a direct bolt-on from the newer trucks. I assume so because the dash is basically the same. So it is a slightly different color. The problem is, the tan that this truck has, it's like super hard to find anything for. Like when I was trying to buy a new steering wheel for this truck, it was like impossible. I could find the King Ranch color, I could find, you know, the gray, but not this in between. So I know it looks a little goofy, but I'm just gonna have to live with it. All right, so next up we need to wire in our switches. So I spent some time trying to decide where I wanted to mount these switches. I kind of wanted to do it on the dash. There's no good opening. You know, all of my little plates and stuff have stuff in them. There'd really be no good place to put it on the dash that I could find or think of. I thought about mounting them on the seat, like on this plate, but there's not a lot of room behind that for the switch. It's not a bad spot, but I think my favorite and my first choice originally is to mount them on the center console here, like right there. So you just reach down, click the switch. That'll work out well because we can kind of wire them together as far as the power and ground for the switch, and then just out to a little connector to then go to the seat. That way, to remove the center console, we can just unplug them and leave the wiring in there, because the other part of this wiring is going to be basically fixed to the truck once we attach it. This is what's going to plug into the seat. So we'll have this disconnectable from the center console, if that makes sense. And so I'm going to get the center console in here and wire all that part up, and then we can start working on wiring into the truck. All right, I'm going to cut this connector off my old console so we can mate it to the new one. And then that way we can just plug the new console in. Alright, one down, one to go. Looks like it was meant to be. All right, we got the wiring coming out of the switches. Again, this side is going to go to a 2-pin connector, which is going to connect to the driver's side seat to just turn the stuff on and off. This side, going to the passenger side seat, is where we're gonna get our power and ground for the switches and our power to just turn this on. So it's not gonna carry any load, it's just to tell it, hey, turn on. Then we have our stock truck style connector off the other center console here, which this is gonna carry the actual power to the inverter and the cigarette lighters, which there's one inside the console and one on the back. But yeah, enough jibber jabber, time to get back to work. All right, all of the console wiring is done. I need to test it, but we've got it wound. This is our 4-pin for the passenger side. And this is our 2-pin for the driver's side. Then I've got the wiring in the truck done, so this plugs into the seat, this plugs into the console. And then this is seat, this is console. So now we'll toss the console in, plug it in, toss the seats in, plug them in, see if it all works. I've gone a little long on these harnesses. All right, took everything back out, everything worked. So before we mount them, I wanna go ahead and knock out the rear seat situation, just because it'll be a lot easier when we've got 14 miles of room here to get it out. So this one should be relatively easy. The only difficulty is my amp is mounted right there, and the new seats came with this nice storage deal, which I like this and would like to keep it, but I'm gonna have to remount my amp to do it. So I think for now we'll just unbolt it, take it out, and then revisit that later. Otherwise, this should be a pretty easy swap. Look at that, snazzy. It doesn't clash as bad with the tan interior as I worried that it might. Boom, boom. All right, enough messing about. Let's move up to the front. We gotta put all of this back together. All right, well, the seats are finally in. Well, seats and center console, I guess. Super happy with this. They look so nice in here. They look so much better than before. I'm happy they don't clash too bad with like the tan beige interior, especially with the wood grain door handles. Like it fits it. It doesn't look too out of place. So I'm really excited about this. This is going to be such a big improvement on long trips. Got the center console all mounted in nice. Everything seems to fit pretty good. Got our switches down here. So that's heat. That's cool. So these will only work with the key on. But I'm happy with that mounting point. I felt like that was really kind of the best place to put them. They're out of the way, but they're easy enough to get to. So everything works. All the power stuff works. I've checked the cooling. I've checked the heating. I've checked all of the cigarette lighters. That's important. Got to charge things. And I checked the power inverter, and that works as well, so that's really exciting. So we got the floor mats back in, got all the trim panels back on. It is, it's complete. So what I want to do now, fire the thing up, get the AC cranking, get the AC seats ripping, go take it for a drive and just see what the difference is, see what it feels like. I mean, I drove it in here with these old seats, and we're gonna drive it out with the new ones. So really glad to have this stuff out of here. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing ever. I really liked how much room I had in the center console, and it wasn't a bad setup. I just liked that full length one better, you know, because I'd put my wallet down here, and it was like I always had to dig down there to grab it. And then you can see now with the seat out just how bad it was. I mean, it's like this corner is sunken like 2-3 inches. That side's all broken. This thing would always be hanging off and dangling. So we'll get rid of these, just sell them cheap to someone who wants to upgrade their older truck or whatever. But yeah, man, even from the outside, it just looks so much better. It just looks so much nicer in there. I always hated that color combo that they did. The two-tone, never been a fan, so I'm glad to have these out of here. But anyway, it's enough jibber jabbering. Let's go drive this thing. Oh man, I had the seat cooler on for just a little bit, and like, the seat is so cool. So the one thing off the bat I'm not too fond of is I sit higher. I really like sitting low in this truck. I could barely see over the hood, which, I mean, probably a better thing to be able to see the hood, because sometimes I'd have to scoot up when I was making a tight turn, but I don't know, I liked it. Oh, this is so nice. I'm not leaning to the left anymore. So much more cushion. Let's try the heat. Let's see what the heat feels like. Storage, amazing. Like I said, the only thing I'm gonna have to get used to is sitting up so high, but so much more comfortable. Oh, I feel the heat coming in now. So much more comfortable. I wonder why my pedals aren't working. Maybe that has something to do with the control module that I took out. The other thing, we have an airbag light on, and I tried plugging the whole module that was in my old seat back in, everything back in, and nothing. So I don't know what the deal is there. Oh man, dude, the heated seat feels nice now that I'm cool. This is a drastic improvement. One thing we need to do, new center console. This one's not, yeah, it's kind of rough. New steering wheel, just for aesthetic reasons. Oh, this is so nice, dude. This is what I wanted. This truck feeling like a new truck. Make sure the music still works. Well, what a huge improvement. Oh, it's just, I love this. I like this so much better. The extra cup holders, I think you can definitely pop these out, so I could probably change that for like a junk tray. I mean, it is occasionally nice to have 4 when you got 2 people, like a water and a soda or whatever. Then all this storage down here. Oh, this is gonna be so nice for long trips, man. I'm stoked. All right, well, I guess that's pretty much a wrap, at least on this project. I don't have a ton more planned for this thing. I wanna do some maintenance stuff. Ideally do some new injectors just to kind of cross that off the potential failure list. My worst fear is breaking down with the truck and trailer, especially on the way to an event, you know, because then you miss the event and then you're stuck with a truck and a trailer and a car, you know, all your worldly possessions in one place, trying to get them some. That's part of why I built this truck. I don't want that to happen. So anyway, that, and unfortunately, the AC leak is worse than I thought it was. So I refilled the system about 2 weeks ago. It was the first time I've had to touch it in a year since I built the AC lines and charged the system originally. I was hoping it was some super slow leak I could put off until next year, but no. It leaked down in about 2 weeks to where it was when I filled it. So it's getting low again. So we've got a sizable leak, and all signs point to it being the evaporator underneath the dash. So we might have to pull the dash out and replace that. I thought about doing it while I was doing the seats and stuff, but I want to narrow it down and make sure it's not something in the bay first before I go through the trouble of pulling the dash out, because it's not a fun project. Supposedly it's pretty easy on these, but anyway, that's something we got to tackle. Luckily, when it works, it's icy, so we just got to get her fixed up, patched up, and keep cruising. So anyway, I'm going to quit jibber jabbering and blibber blabbering. I'll let you guys get to work on your own project. So for now, for me, that's going to be it. I hope to see you guys next time, but that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.